Jnana Chimendasya Jnanangana Salakaya Chaksusu Militan Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobishtan Stapita Yena Bhutale Sanyarupa Kadamaya Dadati Swampadantikan Vandiyam Sri Guru Shutam Padakamalan Sri Gurum Vaishnavan Muscha Sri Rupan Sakyatan Sahagana Raghunatan Tavitantan Sajivan Sadhuetan Sabadutan Purijana Saitan Sri Krishna Chaitanya Devan Sri Radha Krishna Padasahagana Lalita Sri Vishakhavitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanto Radha Kanto Namastute Tapta Kanchana Gorange Radha Vrindavan Vishabhanu Sute Devi Panamami Hari Priye Vanchakapatarubhyascha Kripasindhibhya evacha Patetanam Pavanabhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prima Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namine Goratise Namah Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadahara Sri Vasadi Gora Bhakta Binda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Ananda Lila Maya Vigrahaya Imeba Davicha Visundaraya Tasma Maha Prema Rasa Pradaya Chaitanya Chandra Nama Namastute Chaitanya Chandra Nama Namastute. So I thank everyone for being here this evening for the Bhagavad-Gita discourse. And today is very special day, very, very auspicious. It's Mokshada Ekadasi, and it's the day that Lord Krishna spoke Bhagavad-Gita to Arjuna prior to the commencement of the battle of Kurukshetra. Now, wanted to know is that even though Lord Krishna spoke the Gita before the beginning of the battle of Kurukshetra, but the Gita itself was not known until after the battle. It was after the battle finished, before the Bhagavad-Gita was revealed. It was not known before until after the battle. Because after all, Bhagavad-Gita is part of Mahabharata. Bhagavad-Gita itself is not an independent scripture, it's not an independent book. It's part of Mahabharata. It's in Bhishma Parva, which lists the battle of Kurukshetra, when all the parties, they all gathered on the battle of Kurukshetra, and then the mighty war began. So Lord Krishna spoke the Gita to Arjuna, because Arjuna, when he became very compassionate to his cousins and all his soldiers, so he became dejected, and he didn't want to. So Lord Krishna spoke the Bhagavad Gita. So as I said earlier, technically it was spoken today, but it was not known until later. Gita was revealed later, after much longer time after the Kurukshetra, which means it was during the compilation of the Mahabharata that the Bhagavad Gita was known. And Mahabharata was compiled much later, long after Lord Krishna had departed. It was compiled much later period of time. And of course, the Gita, it's a very ancient text. Lord Krishna, when he was talking to Arjuna, He said, Imam Bivashati Yogam, Dr. Han Mahabit, that I first spoke this knowledge to the sun god long time ago. Vivashwan was the sun god. And then he spoke it to his son Ikshwaku. And then the son Ikshwaku spoke it to the saintly kings. So basically the Gita was spoken to all the saintly kings that time. And then in the course of time, because it was giving knowledge from mouth to mouth, so over the course of time, the knowledge became lost. The succession, because normally when there is a message which is being transmitted from mouth to mouth, it was not written down. So obviously, because there are different ages that comes in between, so the message become lost. So now the lost again now is now repeating the same message to Bhagavad-Gita. To Arjun on the battle of Kurukshetra. So the Mahabharata, by which the Bhagavad-Gita is part of the Mahabharata. So Mahabharata itself is a scripture which was written for everyone to understand the science of, the science of Dharma, to understand Dharma, the science of God. Because prior to the composition of the Mahabharata, all the high classes of men, they used to study the Vedas. It's a part of the Vedic culture, the Varnashram Dharma. So the Brahmanas, the Kshatriyas, and then the Vaishyas to some extent. So they all used to study the Vedic scriptures. And it's limited to men. It's not, which means people who are of lower class or women, they cannot study. They are forbidden. It's not something the women study or the Shudra study. They are forbidden. So but however, Srila Vyasadeva, he wanted to do something for the benefit of everyone, for the benefit of all humanity. Striyo, Sudra, Dvijabandhunam. The Striya, the women, Sudras, Dvijabandhus, the men who are considered falling from the Brahminical platform, Dvijabandhus, which they are called the friend of the Brahmana, which they are falling from the Brahminical standard. So in order to benefit everyone, including the low classes, so-called low classes of society, so Srila Vyasadeva, he composed Mahabharata. He wrote Mahabharata. And of course, Mahabharata itself is not, even though yes, it's meant to benefit everyone, it's composed for the benefits of all classes of society, but that doesn't mean that it's of lower scripture than the Vedas. Vedas, Upanishad. As a matter of fact, Mahabharata, it contains all the essential knowledge that is there in all the Vedic scriptures. It contains all the essential knowledge. But it was written in the form of in a story format, which centered around family members who are opposed to each other. Members of the same family, the Kauravas and the Pandavas, who are like, at war with each other, because the Kauravas, they were inimical to their cousins. So, because we know, just like very common here in India, also in many societies, also with the same place where I come from, that people, they like to hear stories. They like to hear stories, and then from the stories, then, even though the story may look like fable, sometimes may be like, like fantastic stories, because you hear so many, allegories, many things like that. But the purpose of the story is to convey certain knowledge. That's the purpose of the story, is to convey some particular knowledge. So Srila Vyasadeva, he wrote Mahabharata. in the form of stories of the warring family, this family who are like at war with each other, and then from that story, from that composition of Mahabharata, then you have what is most essential, the teachings of you have the Bhagavad-Gita, which is considered to be the cream of the Mahabharata. And because Mahabharata is such a valuable scriptures, so every Sampradaya, every Vaishnava Acharyas, they all commented on the Mahabharata. Mahabharata is a scripture that is widely accepted by every religious thoughts, especially here in India. It's accepted by everyone in Mahabharata. Of course, even though it may be misinterpreted differently, but it's there. So it's there in all in the society. Actually, Srila Prabhupada, he didn't mention that he wanted to translate Mahabharata and give a comment, but Mahabharata is very vast scriptures. It's 100,000 verses that is there. In his book Prabandha Valley, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur was trying to give he was giving the chronology of the composition of Mahabharata. He was giving the chronology, and he was writing that the original Vyasadeva may not be the sole writer, of the Mahabharata. That Mahabharata must have been composed in poetic terms, and another person in later terms, in the name of Vyasadeva, completed the writing of the Mahabharata, which means he expanded the Mahabharata into 100,000 verses that we have today. And of course, when you read Mahabharata, you find so many wonderful teachings that are there, especially what has been taught by the Yaksha, who was actually Yamaraj himself. Then the teachings of Savitri, teachings of King Harishchandra, all the famous Vedic rishis, they all there in the Mahabharata. And of course, you have the Bhishma Gita is there, the teachings of Bhishma Dev, which was spoken after the end of the battle of Kurukshetra. So, but what is most important, of course, is the Bhagavad-Gita. So Bhagavad-Gita, it gives the focus on these two cousins, the Pandavas and the Kauravas, by which as we already study, that we know that yes, the Pandavas, they are righteous, whereas the Kauravas, they are like duplicitous of demoniac propensity, trying to cheat the other party, trying to cheat what is rightfully the belonging of the Pandavas. So, and of course, Lord Krishna is on the side of the Pandavas, because the Pandavas, they are they do the right thing. They do the right thing, and of course, when the Arjuna at the beginning of the battle of Kurukshetra, he declined to fight. He didn't want to fight, but Lord Krishna had to enlighten him that yes, you have to fight because this battle has been arranged by myself. It is Dharma. What is it? Dharma Yud. It is a religious war. It's not an ordinary war. It's not a war that is based on sense gratification, because the other party, they may be saying it for their own sense gratification, but the Pandavas is for the religious purposes. It's for the upliftment of humanity. It is a religious war, Dharma Yud. So Lord Krishna said that yes, you have to be the instrument. You have to be my instrument to execute this, this war. So Bhagavad Gita, as mentioned Mahatmya, the Gita Mahatmya. The Gita Mahatmya, which was composed, there are 7 verses written by Sri Shankaracharya. And one of those verses said that Savo Panisado Gavo, Dugdan Gopalanandana, Pato Vatsa Sudi Bhakta, Dugdan Gita Amrita Mahat. That the Bhagavad-Gita is like, they said that all the Upanishads, there are so many Upanishads, there are 108 Upanishads, and the Upanishads, they are compared to be cow. Upanishads, they are like cows. This is the comparison. And the Gavo, cows. And the milk of the cow, normally there has to be a cow herd. So Gopa, which is Krishna, is the milk of the cow. And for the cow to give milk, there must be a calf. Without a calf, the cow will not give milk. Except, of course, nowadays, the organized dairy forcibly, they're forcibly pumping the cow, to give milk, So that's why the cow nowadays, the milk that is given in the organized dairy industry, those milks are not nourishing. Is it correct? Yeah. So the cow, to give milk, there must be a calf. So Arjuna is the calf. Vatsa means calf. So Arjuna is the calf. So the cow is there, the Upanishads, and then the calf is there. The calf, in this case Arjuna, and then the milk of the milker, the cowhead, who is pumping the milk, who is squeezing the milk, that's Krishna himself. So Krishna is the cowhead. And then who is drinking this milk? The milk is coming out. Who is drinking it? Dugdan Gita Mitam Mahat. So the great devotees, they are drinking this nectarian milk that is being squeezed out of the Upanishads. So that's why the Bhagavad-Gita is also known as the Gita Upanishad, because it's the essence of all the Upanishads, the Bhagavad-Gita. So the great devotees, they are drinking it. And this drinking it, the more you drink it, the more relishable it becomes. No one has ever been tired from hearing the message of the Gita. No one has ever been tired. Many of us, for more than 4 decades, we have been studying the Gitas. We read Gita again and again, hear it discussed again and again. Still, we never become tired of it. We never become tired. It's like each time you hear Bhagavad-Gita sloka, you feel different. You say, oh, even though you might have read the same sloka again, repeatedly, again and again. I mean, personally, I must have, heard Gita at least hundreds of times, Just like this morning, we were doing a Gita recitation this morning in a temple. So, everybody's there. You are repeating the verses. It's like, you feel different, It's like very soothing to hear this Gita sloka being read, being chanted. You are chanting. It's like you're just going to the soul. It's soothing the soul. Just hearing this Gita. Very, very sweet. You don't feel that, it's not like some mundane poet, some mundane poems that, this is so dry, No. Gita, the more you read it, the more you want to read it. Just like one time, Chaitanya Prabhu, he was in South India. He was traveling in South India. And there was one Brahmana. He was kind of illiterate. But this Brahmana, all his mates, they were making fun of him. Because this Brahmana, he was trying to read the Bhagavad-Gita, but somehow he was reading it upside down. It was like the book is upside down, he was trying to read the Gita. So all his mates, they are making fun of him. Everybody was laughing at him. They look at this fellow. And because as you're looking at the Gita, so much he'll be shedding so much tears. So much tears were coming from his eye. So everyone was laughing at him. They thought that, this fellow, because he's an illiterate, he cannot read the Gita, So therefore he's crying, he's lamenting because he could not read. So when Mahaprabhu met this Brahmana, and Mahaprabhu asked him that, my dear Brahmana, why are you crying so much? Why are you crying when you are holding the Gita? And then this Brahmana explained that, I am just thinking that, looking at the Gita, that Lord Krishna is sitting on the chariot. He's just sitting on the chariot, as a driver of the charioteer. And then Arjuna, his dear devotee, was sitting there as the occupier of the chariot, and the Krishna is there sitting, holding the reins of the chariot, trying to drive it. So this is just making me, making me feel deep emotion how the Supreme Lord is so merciful that is driving, he's become the driver of his own devotees. So this is what is causing me, that's what's causing me, emotions and crying. So Chaitanya Prabhu, he embraced this Brahman. They say, yes, you are the real knower of the Bhagavad-Gita. You have understood the Bhagavad-Gita. You are the real knower. Because by the Gita, by study of the Gita, one become devotee of Krishna. So Bhagavad-Gita is it has 18 chapters. 18 chapters, and each of these chapters, they have been described as yoga. Each one is titled as particular yoga. Just like the first chapter is called a Visada yoga, means the yoga of dejection. So every chapter is yoga. So whereby you have Visada yoga, you have Jnana yoga, you have Sankhya yoga, Dhyana yoga. Then are different in the Vibhuti yoga. Different yogas. There are 18 yogas which are described. And of course, yoga means the path or the union with the objective. There's an objective and how to be in union with that objective. So in this case, what is the objective? The objective, of course, is the Lord, attainment of the Lord. So how does one begin to search for the Lord? And how does one become in union with him? How does one attain him? This is actually the actual meaning of yoga. So in the first chapter, which is called the Visada yoga, this is called the yoga of dejection, because Arjuna, he became very dejected. He became very, very unhappy because after surveying all the soldiers, and he could see his grandfathers, his guru, his cousins, his brothers, his friends, so many relatives, he could see them. So Arjuna, being a godly person, so he became very, very dejected. He became very, very mussed, and then start, telling Krishna that, why are we engaged in this ghastly warfare? So many people will die, many soldiers will die, and then their wife will become widow, their wives will become unprotected, and if the women are not protected, so what happens is that they become object of abuse for the society. They become object of abuse in the society, Many of them will become loose, then they will produce Vanasankara. Vanasankara, which means unwanted progeny. Just like nowadays in the world today, the whole society is full of unwanted. People are having children they are not prepared for it, they're just out of sex. They have children. And those children is actually unwanted population. And what happened is that they create a earliest environment for the society, earliest environment. So this we are saying. So Arjuna was very concerned that all these men, they will all be died, then their wives become unprotected, no one will protect them, and then many of them will produce unwanted society, and then unwanted population, which create Early's environment for the society. So Arjuna he started giving so many philosophical, reason why this battle should not take place. He was giving so many philosophical reasons. So basically, this dejection, this is how, it's a teaching for us that unless someone becomes disgusted with one's materialistic existence, it will not be possible to search for something that is beyond, that is higher, that is beyond what this world have to offer. Because we know that this world is miserable, it's temporary, asat, so many things, tapotraya. So there must be something beyond. So that's why the many personality, they'll begin to search for the absolute truth. There must be a way to stop this, temporary, miserable, materialistic existence. So unless one becomes disgusted with one's existence in the material world, the thinking of maybe there's something better than this world, that thinking will not be there. That thinking will not be there. So that's why this the first chapter of the Bhagavad-Gita, it's very important for someone to actually study and ponder over it and think over it. It's not just ordinary that Arjuna was feeling dejected. He was just being kind, but it's a great lesson for us. How we start searching for the absolute, absolute truth. So from there, and then we have then the chapter 2 begins. Chapter 2 begins. So the chapter 2, which is basically called the let me just see here. I think it's Sankhya Yoga. So the chapter 2, which is Sankhya Yoga. So Sankhya means the elements, the branches, the Sankhya. So in the beginning, whereby after Arjuna telling Lord Krishna that, I cannot fight, I'm not going to fight, I'm so confused by myself. And I was deliberating, he said, okay, look, Krishna, I'm so confused by my duty. Now, she stay home that, okay, I want to become your disciple, so give me enlightenment. Because after all, Arjuna know that yes, Krishna is the Supreme Lord, and he's the Guru, is the Jagat Guru. Krishna is what's it called? Krishna Vande Jagat Guru. That yes, Krishna is obviously Krishna Vande Jagat Guru. That Krishna is the Jagat Guru, is the spiritual master of the whole world. So therefore, Arjuna surrendered himself to the real Jagat Guru, who is Krishna himself. That please enlighten me. So Krishna started enlightening in the Bhagavad-Gita. So from chapter 2 on, whereby the varieties of knowledge are given in terms of the nature of the soul, and the nature of the soul, and also the activities, the Kama Sanyas Yoga, which means the activities, which means by which one can perform without expectation of the results of that. And that activity, and also in terms of the unsuccessful yogi, those who practice yoga and somehow they were unable to be successful, that what is their destination? The Lord did mention that Nehabi Kramana Sosti, that that such a person, they really have nothing to fear if one is practicing the path of yoga or the path of Krishna consciousness, and they are unable to finish that in this particular life, then whatever they finish, whatever they will start again where they finish in the next life. So there is no loss for any particular practice. So the Lord explained all these things. So you find all these elements in the chapter 2. And then in the chapter 3, the Lord explained Karma Yoga, the yoga of action. So when we say Karma Yoga, yoga of action, which means desireless action. Desireless, you perform activities, but you perform activities only for the sake of it, which means for the sake of the Lord. But without, you perform your activities, you do your duty without attachment to the results. So this is the chapter 3, is basically dealing with that. And then the chapter 4, it deals with Gyan Yoga, the transcendental knowledge. So, it's all fully explained. So it's Gyan Yoga, the transcendental knowledge, chapter 4. And then the chapter 5, it mixes both. It's a mixture of Jnana Yoga and Karma Yoga. It's Jnana and Karma Yoga, the chapter 5. And now, in the chapter 6, then Arjuna became concerned. He said, "Oh, you've taught me about karma. You've also taught me about Gyan. So, which is I'm confused now. What to do? I'm confused about all these things." And then Lord Krishna spoke about Dhyan Yoga, the yoga of meditation. The yoga of meditation on the Supreme Lord. So, and of course, towards the end of at the end of chapter 6, so the Lord told Arjuna that yes, yogina api salvation, margatina antaratmana, sadava vegetable yoma, so that yes, the best yogi, I've told you about all kind of yogi, the best one, the topmost one is the one who is always meditating upon me. That's the best yogi. And then chapter 7 begins, whereby the Lord begins to talk about himself. About what is the real meditation? That the real meditation is about taking shelter of the Lord, Madhasraya. So essentially, Bhagavad-Gita is divided into 3 chapters, into 3 sections. So chapter 1 to 6 is about Karma Yoga, which and then chapter 7 to 12 is about Bhakti Yoga, and then chapter 13 to 18 is Gyan Yoga. However, even though these 3 divisions are there, still there is always the elements of each of these divisions. For instance, chapter 1 to 6, even though is mainly focused on Karma Yoga, but still you will still find the element of Gyan and Bhakti is there. And of course, chapter 7 to 12 is all about Bhakti, but there's also the element of Gyan, and especially when the Lord is explaining, like in the beginning, actually today's verse is about the elements of the material element. Which I think I should just read that. So that the Lord explained the elements, but how all these elements, these are all his material. He said, these are my inferior energy, but I do have a superior one. And my devotees, they take shelter of my inferior energy, not the material energy. Because material energy, inferior energy, they bind one in the material world, whereas superior energy, his personal energy, they take one out of this material world. So I just read this text a little bit, and then there's actually so much to discuss about this different analysis of the different aspects of the Bhagavad-Gita, because today being Gita Jayanti is a good way to actually meditate on the concept of the Gita. We know the concept, the analysis, how the different subjects are broken down, and how all those subjects can enable us to transcend this material world, to get us freedom from the ocean of birth and death. Because in the last 6 sections of the Jnana Yoga, That even though from chapter 13, the Lord is talking about strictly about Gyan, about knowledge, about the material nature, about the field of activities, the knower of the field, Ketra Ketra Gyan, and how he is the knower of all the field. The Lord knows everything. And then the chapter 14 dealing with the three modes of material nature. Then you have the Purushottam Yoga in chapter 15. Then demoniac nature, chapter 16. Chapter 17, the divisions of faith. And then in chapter 18, the law is like a summary of all that has been discussed. And then towards the end of the chapter 18, the Lord said, now, my dear Arjun, hear the most confidential knowledge. Paramagoyam, he said in Paramagoyam, the topmost confidential knowledge. Goyam means very secret. This secret is not something that is given to everyone. Unless someone is very, very, dear to you, you don't give them secrets. Because if you just give anyone any kind of secret, that secret may be misused. So therefore, at the end, the Lord said, hear this secret. That secret is always thinking of me. Become my devotees. Mam mana bhava mat bhakto, mat yajnam namaskuru. Mam evasasis Jayanti patijono piyoshime. Said, because you are very dear to me, so therefore I'm telling you this. Always thinking of me. Become my devotees. And then the Lord said, Savadama pratyagya. Give up all religions. Whatever I taught you in terms of any kind of dharma, give up all kind of conceptual religion and just surrender unto me only. Madhashraya, Savadama pratyagya, Mamekam saranam praja, Ahantram savapapebhyo, mokshan masucha. Just give up all kind of religion, become my devotees, surrender unto me only, and I will give you freedom from all kinds of fear. So I just read this text, text 4, and I'm supposed to lecture on text number 4, but because today is Gita Jayanti, that's why I'm just saying something about the overall Bhagavad-Gita, because today is Gita Jayanti. So in the text number 4, Bhumi aponalo vayo kamano buddhi evacha ahankara itinyame bina prakriti ashtada, earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, and false ego. Altogether, these 8 constitute my separated material energies. So Lord Krishna is speaking to Arjuna this way. And the purport by Srila Prabhupada. The science of God analyzes the constitutional position of God and its diverse energies. Material energy is called Prakriti, or the energy of the Lord, in its different Purusha incarnation, expansions, as described in the Satota Tantra. Vishnustu Trini Rupani, Purusha Kyani Ato Viduhu, Ekantu Mahata Shastri, Dutiyantu Anda Samsitam, Tritiyam Sava Bhutastam Tani Gyatva Vimuchete. For material creation, Lord Krishna's plenary expansion assumes 3 Vishnus. In the first one, Mahavishnu, creates the total material energy known as the Mahat Tattva. The second, Garbhodaksha Vishnu, enters into all the universes to create diversities in each of them. The third, Kirodaksha Vishnu, is diffused as the all-pervading supersoul in all the universes, and is known as Paramatma. He is present even within the atoms. Anyone who knows these 3 Vishnus can be liberated from material entanglement. This material world is a temporary manifestation of one of the energies of the Lord. All the activities of the material world are directed by these three Vishnu expansions of Lord Krishna. These Purushas are called incarnations. Generally, one who does not know the science of God, Krishna, assumes that this material world is for the purpose, is for the enjoyment of the living entities, and that the living entities are the Purushas, the causes, controllers, and enjoyers of the material energy. According to Bhagavad-Gita, this atheistic conclusion is false. In the verse under discussion, it is stated that Krishna is the original cause of the material manifestation. Srimad Bhagavatam confirms this. The ingredients of the material manifestation are separated energies of the Lord. Even the Brahma Jyoti, which is the ultimate goal of the impersonalist, is a spiritual energy manifested in the spiritual sky. There are no spiritual diversities in the Brahma Jyoti as there are in the Vaikuntha Lokas, and the impersonalist accepts this Brahma Jyoti as the ultimate eternal goal. The Paramatma manifestation is also a temporary or pervasive aspect of the Kshatriyadasha Vishnu. The Paramatma manifestation is not eternal in the spiritual world. Therefore, the factual absolute truth is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. He is the complete energetic person, and he possesses different separated and internal energies. In the material energy, the principal manifestations are 8, as above mentioned. Out of these, the first 5 manifestations, namely earth, water, fire, air, and sky, are called the 5 gigantic creators, or the gross creations, within which the 5 sense objects are included. They are the manifestations of physical sound, touch, form, taste, and smell. Material science comprises these 10 items and nothing more, but the other 3 items, namely mind, intelligence, and false ego, are neglected by the materialists. Philosophers who deal with material activities are also not perfect in knowledge because they do not know the ultimate source, Krishna. The false ego, I am, and it is mine, which constitute the basic principle of material existence, includes 10 sense organs for material activities. Intelligence refers to the total material creation called the Mahatattva. Therefore, from the 8 separated energies of the Lord are manifest the 24 elements of the material world, which are the subject matter of Sankhya atheistic philosophy. They are originally offshoots from Krishna's energy and are separated from him. But atheistic Sankhya philosophers with a poor fund of knowledge do not know Krishna as the cause of all causes. The subject matter for discussion in the Sankhya philosophy is only the manifestation of the external energy of Krishna, as it is described in the Bhagavad-Gita. So this text basically just gives us a little hint of the Lord's separated energies, being Prakriti Ashtadam, the Lord's separated in energies, which means which are basically explain the manifestation of this material world. In the third canto Bhagavatam, it's hopefully explained, and also in the 11th canto also, the Lord talks about the enumeration of all these material, or of all these elements. There are 24 of them which are described, and of course the 8 which are given here. The 8 simply form the basis of these 24, because you have the gross elements, and then you also have the subtle elements, and then you have the working senses, Tamatra, like you have all this. So this all explained in the Bhagavatam. So essentially, the Lord is from this. The Lord is going to explain to Arjuna how these material energies, they are separated. They are separate from Him, and devotees will be better off to take shelter of His spiritual energy, His internal energy. So anyway, I'm going to stop here because we just have 5 minutes left. And another program is starting at 6 o'clock. So is there any question or comments about this discussion? Is my explanation clear? Is it clear? Okay. Karbajan Prabhu is in Samadhi. Hare Krishna. Is your first time? Oh, second time, okay. You from Delhi? Okay. So you come because of Gita Jayanti, which is good. So you want to say something, Prabhu? Okay. So anyway, thank you very much for listening, for coming. And sometime we can have more time for discussion of the Bhagavad-Gita. So today's Gita Jayanti is a very wonderful day. Okay. So thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Hare Krishna.